don't know about you, but I really meant what I just sang. Thinking about the words and, first thinking about the song. And when Cam started, we're singing this song, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." And I immediately, I have flashbacks all the time, right? And so I immediately started thinking, well, I know this song. And I remember as a kid, I don't have any idea what that song means. "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." I'm singing that. Cameron, how old are you? 12? 11? 13? I'm sitting here 13 years old going, what is a fount of every blessing? And why am I asking God to come and bring this fount? I don't know what the words even mean. So I'm looking up in the hymnal, right? And I go, well, where is that song? And it's number 51. I thought it was 50, but I can't see that well without these. So I'm looking at 50 going, that says God is so good. Good lyrics, but that's not the song. The next page says, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." And I'm trying to read it. Well, the song's going at a different pace than I learned it as a kid. Now I kind of like it. I'm listening, going, it's kind of cool, but it's hard to sing with because I don't know that syncopation, right? So now I'm just trying to listen. But the words up on the screen are different than the words in the book. And I'm going, well, these words were written in 1758. So everything updates. And so, yeah, I get it. We probably had to update the words. But here's part of the problem, is that we update stuff so often that even we, like denominations, will update things. The original lyrics, I'm sitting there. This is what happens in worship for me. I'm sitting here trying to worship with my Sala family, right? And I'm Googling words, listening to Jen. I'm praying, making notes, thinking about the sermon, and looking at the words, trying to remember, what is this song and what's a fount of every blessing even mean? That's my brain on a Sunday morning. Like, what is wrong with me? So I'm reading here, and I Google this thing, and it makes mention of the Church of the Nazarene that we went out of our way to revise the words. We didn't like what the pastor had wrote in 1758. We give him credit, Pastor Robinson, but we remixed his words because we didn't like it. You know the phrase we didn't like? And I don't like it either. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. And I could have sat in the Nazarene meeting that said, I don't like that. I don't even like the theology. I like that when I'm saved, I get up from this place and say, here's my heart, Lord. When I'm sanctified, I re-get up from this place and say, no, you literally have my heart. Take and seal it. But at age 48, I gotta tell you, some of the magic that I wanted to have happen as a kid, the spiritual magic of sanctification, I wanted to just cloak me in and I said, take my heart here, Lord, seal it. And doggone it, I could still be prone to wander. How could that be? Pastor, are you saying you didn't get sanctified? I don't think so. I know I fully surrendered all that to him. But I could still be, if I'm not careful, prone to wander. Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. And I got to tell you, that's very disappointing for me. And I get that the Nazarene said, why don't we say this? Lord, let me yield myself to you. Prone to wander, that's not what I want to think is going to be our reality. You're going to get to age 48, you're not going to be prone to wander, right? Yet Ruth Jarvis has said that she could still be prone to wander on the wrong day. And yet the grace of God, who has said, I will take your heart and I will seal it. Seal it for God's courts above, for his purposes. And we'll keep a long obedience in the same direction. And God will mature us up into this. And so I get a little encouraged that I don't have to be panicked Was I just prone to wander? Was I prone to leave the Lord? Nah, you know what? God is maturing us and moving us in a direction that says, why would you want to wander? Where would you want to go? What else could there be but a full surrender to this God? And in my humanness, in my frailty and my carelessness, I could still be somewhat attracted or prone to things outside of God's will. But that's what I love about the Word of God. It's growing us up. It's not magic fairy dust that I want it to just be sanctified and fully surrender, but in our maturity, He grows us up, and I'm so less prone to wander these days. Frustrated that it could even possibly still exist in my world, but man, I'm not where I was. Here's the good news. I'm not where I'm going to be either. He loves me just enough that He's going to keep maturing and growing me. How great is that? I've had some flashbacks into my past recently. 2 weeks ago, I got a little lazy. I didn't go to my barber, my wife Jill, of 25 years, and say, just cut my hair. And she always wants me to grow it out. I don't want to grow it out. What do I need hair for? Why would I need one more thing to do? But on vacation, I let it grow. I was surprised. I thought I would look more like Santa Claus at this point. But it's all right, I guess. I don't know. But I had this moment. I held a hairbrush for the first time in 25 years. Not just passing it on to one of my daughters, but holding it, looking in the mirror, going, I'm supposed to do something with this. And I literally had to take a moment because I had forgotten how to use it. Like, what do I do? Do I go this way? Does it go back? Does it come forward? When my grandfather would say he'd forgotten how to do a certain thing, I was like, dude, how old are you? You're like forgetting how to do rudimentary things in life? I looked at my hairbrush and went, I'm not sure. That's a weird day, right? But it also had a flashback to when I look at this hairbrush. When I see this hairbrush, I cringe. And I don't know if any of the boys in the room were raised by Sandy Dean, but I was. And when she would bring out that brush, she would not just comb my hair, but my ear and my forehead and my neck, and it would just scrape every part of me. I see that brush and I just go, oh gosh, no. She would literally have to like put me in a headlock, and she would just like a Brillo pad just scrape my brain. It was awful. So I'm holding this brush, right? And I'm like, oh gosh, like I can feel it. That was 40 years ago, and I can still feel it this moment. And I started having this hairbrush created more flashbacks, and I got pretty nostalgic. I started thinking about this next picture. Go ahead. This is how I would know where everybody was hanging out in 1979. I would go, hey, Mom, I'm going over to Tony. She'd go, oh, yeah, everybody's over there. How would she know? She drove by, and there were 40 bikes outside Tony's house. That's how you got everybody. I now have an app on my phone. My whole family has it. I knew where Kayla was in Florida 2 weeks ago because Life 60 gives me her location. She was going the wrong way to a church. I knew it. I could see it. They turned around. They were going 84 miles an hour because they realized they were going to be late now, and they yanked a Yui and came back. I saw that. This is how people get to know where everybody is. That's how I knew where everybody was. How old am I? Look at this. Everything changes. Look at this next picture. My dad thought that was a good idea. But my dad is not unique. Every dad in 1974 thought that was a good idea. This swing set was in everybody's backyard. It was made of aluminum foil. It was a pole that was the inside of Christmas wrapping paper. What they'd wrap it around. Then when we were done with it, they made a swing set out of that. And I put my full weight on it, and when I would swing back, the entire thing would raise up off the ground. I would swing forward, and the entire thing would come with me. And at age 9, I thought it was the greatest toy on the planet. And not one adult ever questioned the sanity of this. Never did they even look and go, we should probably stake that in the ground maybe. What if we poured a little cement and kind of put that little tinfoil pole in there? Maybe that would make sense. I went to Collins Restaurant not too long ago. The swing set's amazing. These kids, they sit in, it's a recliner. You sit in and it just raises you back. It swings for you. This thing has it's like a prison cell that they've built around you. You can't get hurt in life around this thing. And it's so solid on the ground. And I got on it and I was like, it's so boring. Where is the fear of death on this swing? You could swing and you'd hover off the ground. You were like, yes! Let's get this thing in the next yard. I can jump the fence with this. And my parents thought, go ahead and go play for hours out there. We've provided you with recreation. Things change. I'm looking at Collins Restaurant going, I mean, it's fine. You people, you'll never know the joy of risking your life daily like this. These little girls, look at them. They're both looking down. You never looked up. You always looked down because you didn't know. You had no idea what's going to happen. You're like, oh my gosh, here we go. You braced yourself. Look at this next picture. A hairbrush gives me all these flashbacks. When I had trouble downloading music, this is how I fixed it. In the car, the music got a little garbled, and you're like, that's not how that song's supposed to feel. You push the button, you pull it out a little box. The box had this weird thing. And you took a pen, everyone in the car knew how to fix it. Oh, you didn't download the music right. Put the pencil in and just turn it and bring it back around. Now you have a remix version because every time you hear the song, it's like la 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 la, and you just have different. But that's how you fixed it. If you needed the lyrics, here's how you downloaded it. You just pulled out the insert, and there was 16 pages of your cassette insert with the most microscopic wording you ever saw in your life. And that's how nobody ever needed glasses. Our eyes were so finely trained. We were working them every day to figure out lyrics. I didn't know what a song said the other day, and I went, hey, what's that song say? Siri goes like this, I'm listening. Oh, I bet she mocks me. I bet you've been singing it wrong. Lots of people get this lyric wrong. And then she spells it out, and I go, I have been singing that wrong. Everything changes. Everything just updates. Watch, look what happened here. My father used to take me on Saturdays on mobile play dates. We'd get some friends. He would put the seat in our station wagon, the back seat, right? There was a back seat and it faced forward. And it was a bench, like a park bench. 4 people could lay out on it. But then behind it, on Saturdays, he would pull up the bench. That was not facing in the direction of the driver. No. It would pull up like this. And he'd pull it up like this and go, yeah, go ahead. And he'd put a bike in and a football and a light bright with batteries. And we'd have a tent. We'd make a fort. And the seat looked at oncoming traffic. And my dad on Saturdays had a mobile play day. We'd get friends in. We could fit 7 in the back. And we would run around because it was humongous. And what happens is the window goes down. So I'm hanging out at oncoming traffic while my dad's doing, and he's thinking, this is quality time with the kids. And I'm driving around, and everyone else is having the same mobile play date. Look where I want you to see real quick where the kid seats are. They're not invented. I want you to look real close where the seatbelts are. Not in the car. And when you hit the gas and you're driving this way, right? You go like this. Whoa, right? You lean back because of the momentum. Guess what you do in the back seat of the mobile play date? You get launched out of the car and you greet your neighbor and your parents are like, hey, get Steven. What? Don't play around. Get back in. Why did we ever think? And not one law created. Not one person just raised their hand in America to go, this doesn't seem like a good idea. Dad, I know you're watching. First of all, go to your own church. You're a board member, all right? Second of all, it's not your fault. No one here thought that that was a bad idea in '74 either. I don't know why. Look at this next flashback I have because of the stupid hairbrush. Here's how I blocked phone calls. Every dinner, my dad would go, hey, it's dinner time. I knew I had 2 jobs, turn off the TV. I do it like this. Walk over and put pliers in the little thing to turn it, move the aluminum foil thing that's hitting me in the head, and I'm putting pliers in, totally going to be electrocuted, and basically trying to pull the plug from this big old thing that had 3 channels. I don't feel like I'm this old. But that's how I blocked phone calls. That was my second job. You go, hey, turn the phone off. We just took the receiver and rocked it off the little cradle thing. And we just kept it like that. Now we can have dinner. I don't think my daughters know that this button exists, that there's an off button for this. I don't think I've ever one time picked up their phone and thought, oh, you guys turned it off? No, battery's dead. I needed to charge it. When do you turn it off? How do you do that? Why would you do that? I did that every dinner time. There's a part of me that thinks, I miss those days. We could just take the receiver off, and the world was shut off. I electrocuted myself and turned off the plug and rocked the phone off the cradle. And we were good. Everything changes. But I don't know if everything's an upgrade. I don't know if everything is better. But I often wonder why I resist these changes. We gotta be better off that we're not launching kids out of station wagons at age 4 to 16. That's about the window that they were placing me in peril. And we have to be better off, right? That's an upgrade. But I don't know, I look longingly at some of that. I think the song that they created here, Cam was doing things, and the drummer was doing things, and Sam is over there, and they were doing things I can't do, and I think, it's a great song, but I sort of long for the original. But then I Google it to find out it's not the original. It's our own remixed original. And I think, am I just resisting change? I look at that hairbrush and go, I don't want hair. Nate, I'm jealous. I want to be Nate Sawtelle. For 25 years. I know. That's what Andrea tells me all the time. You can't be Nate. Nobody can be Nate. Nate's amazing. He's one of a kind. But Nate's kind of old, too. And I don't know if Nate looks at the hairbrush the way...
Still in my 30s.
That's true. Just barely. Just barely. Today. This afternoon, maybe not. He looks at a hairbrush and goes, why? What do I need that for? I mean, Matt Holt looks at a hairbrush and goes, I wish. Are you kidding me? It's a different perspective, that's all. Last week we were looking in James chapter 3. The weeks before that we're looking in Ephesians. And this whole movement in Scripture is this New Testament, new thought. Here, now that we're left, while Christ has gone back, and in the in-between time, what's our job? It's to grow up in Christ. We've been talking as church leaders, staff, and board about what that looks like. And in my brain, that looks a lot like as I grow up in Christ, that means it's so much less about me and more about who else is not sitting at this table, who else is not receiving all of this fount of every blessing. So as I mature and grow up, I'm looking around going, oh, why are there empty seats here? How do we get the word out better? Because I know people who need what we have. And I want to get it to them. And as a kid, I didn't always think that. I was just looking, going, I don't know what a fount of every blessing is supposed to mean. I don't know why I would go to high school and tell my friends about a fount of every blessing. I don't know. As I mature, I see it differently. I got different lenses. The maturity lens Last week showed us in James, so how do you do that? He goes, one of the main things, tame that tongue of yours. And all God's people said, yeah, I know. My wife said, hey, you should preach that sermon a couple times a year for you. And then I had to last night say, she said, you ready for tomorrow? I said, I don't know. James continues to coach me on a level that I know I still need work in. James 3 talks about taming the tongue, but then it goes on. And today's reading is James 3:13. If you can, go ahead and check that out. James 3:13 says, so who's wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life. Publicly, I want to say to my parents, thanks. You showed me the good life. You found Christ at just the right moment for us. And when I was 7 and my sister was 9, and we went from life that was just fine to life more abundant. Thanks. And you showed me wise and understanding. You placed me in some perilous situations. You raked my head for fashion that I didn't want. You protected my dinner time with just a simple move of the wrist. But you showed me wisdom and maturity. And here's how they did it. Today's gospel reading is in Mark chapter 9. It's where the disciples are embarrassed about what they're talking about. Jesus says, hey, what are you guys talking about on the road? And they go, nothing. And they won't tell him because they were arguing over who's going to be the greatest in heaven. And they were embarrassed of their immaturity. That's when Jesus calls a little kid over and goes, hey, your goal should be more to be like her. Next week, I want to look at that. If you want the precursor, it's just Mark chapter 9. It's fascinating to me. Next week, we're going to look at that a little bit. Because of the maturing process, he brings up a little kid and says, I want you to be like this. And James is telling us as we mature, if my mouth runs off like a little kid, I'm not doing it well. And so there's this tension that I'm caught in and I'm fascinated by. I'm sad that I had to report to my wife yesterday. I don't know if I'm living this out. If you could tell by my good life, by my deeds done in humility that comes from wisdom, that I would be wise and understanding. It's so mature, and I really want to have that together. But sometimes my natural reaction is either emotional or circumstantial. Sometimes I'm not slow to speak. I'm quick to jump in. And I don't want that. I'm grateful for parents who have modeled this over the years because they learned it from other people. Their childlike faith was to look at older Christians and go, I want what you have. How do I get there? That's what's good about pancakes made by Kelvin in the morning here about 9 o'clock. If you're lacking some wisdom or understanding, regardless of your age, if you have a little bit of wisdom and wouldn't mind sharing it, why don't you meet at about 9 o'clock downstairs and find a sacred space there and pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee, eat a pancake, and share your journey a little bit with one another. James goes on to say, verse 14, if you're harboring bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, don't brag about that. In fact, don't deny the truth that that's actually happening for you. Don't be just good with it and ignore it. No, that kind of wisdom doesn't come down from heaven, but it's earthly and it's unspiritual. It's even from the enemy. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find chaos, disorder, all kinds of evil practices. Verse 17, though, gives us this big biblical but that I enjoy. But the wisdom that comes from heaven. And then it goes on to describe it as, first of all, but don't rush there. Just live in this for a moment. James 3:17, but the wisdom that comes from heaven. You know, it says several things to us this morning, right? First of all, this wisdom you might be craving, that I'm craving, that I really want. I'm glad I went to school. I'm glad my professors here at ENC pushed me and stretched me. I'm glad Cecil Paul called me into the office one day to say, Mr. Dean, you could do better. You should do better. Sophomore year, I didn't think he even knew me that well. He just called me in and said, I'm watching you. You have all the potential in the world. You could do better. You should do better. And I was dismissed. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm glad that I pressed in to get as much training and expertise and knowledge and my seminary studies, my postgraduate studies, just looking into, trying to gain understanding and wisdom. But real maturity and wisdom, you know where it's going to come from, right? From heaven. Which means it's a gift. Which also means it's available. And our God, he doesn't love to just give you a gift and not give me a gift. He's all about the inclusive gift giving, to say, this is available to you. So maybe this morning, if you're frustrated like me, that maybe you should be past something already, or not prone to wander, or a little feeling like, why haven't I conquered that? If you're nostalgic for a time that maybe you think we were doing it better, but are frustrated with today, but you're recognizing everything updates and organically moves forward and changes. But you want the wisdom and understanding that comes along with that. Open yourself up and just say, okay, Lord, from heaven, do you want to give me that wisdom? I'm available. College freshmen, just a few weeks ago, you signed up to come here to gain that type of maturity and wisdom. High schoolers, middle schoolers, that's why you're in school. It feels dumb every day. You're going to get to like October and be like, really? Is this all we do every day? I got to learn the same stuff? I ask all of you, what'd you learn today in school? Each of you answer the same thing. Nothing. Because it's hard to see over the years, right? Like, what am I teaching? I don't know what I'm learning. But honestly, think about it. When you were 4, did you know what you know now? Are you smarter today than you were 3 years ago? I hope. Will Czar just looked at Jacob and went, absolutely not. But what if today you just said, God, what kind of wisdom and maturity do you have for me? Instead of this call to say, all right, what are you making me do? What do you want from me? This is not a call to do better or to do more. This is a call to be closer to God. The wisdom that comes from heaven, you know where it comes from? The Lord. You know who he gives it to? Those who sing the prayer that we just sang, take my heart, Lord. Take and seal it. It's yours. The worship team's going to come. And as we prepare to close, I just want you to be praying that prayer. Lord, I'm open to your wisdom. As they come, I want you to hear the rest of the words in James. I love that Jen prayed over me and said, okay, Lord, would you bless the hard work that Pastor Stretch has put into this message, but I can't take credit for any of this. This is the hard work that the stepbrother of Jesus gave to us over several years of wisdom. He decided to write it down, and in 5 chapters, it kind of encapsulated his whole ministry. Listen to his words. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is, first of all, pure, peace-loving, considerate, submissive. I know, Joe. I'm working on that one. Hear the words again. The wisdom that comes from heaven, it's pure. I get nostalgic for some things, but I don't miss in my youth, in my immaturity, how I didn't always choose purity, the right things, what to bring into my life. When I would unfold the lyrics of my downloading in my inserts, they weren't always God-honoring, and they weren't always pure. And I wonder, well, no wonder I maybe didn't have the wisdom from heaven. I wasn't intentionally asking, Lord, give me pure thoughts. It was coming out of the North Shore of Boston, and you sit on that beautiful bridge, right? It's real nice, it's purple at night, and something magical happens. You're breezing along, and before you go down into the tunnel, it's mandatory, it's a state law. Everyone has to stop. Just look around for like 20 minutes. There's nothing happening, there's no accident, there's no police, there's no construction. We just all get there and we just stop. Look at the water, look at each other, look at the kids not playing in the mobile background of death. And just yesterday, we were driving, and Jill and I were sitting here, and it started to open up, and this truck, I thought was going to run literally over us, yanked in front, took off, and we both just went, ah! And we sat there for a moment. We were like, and she just goes, Stretch, why did that just happen? I was like, I don't know. But then I went back and I was reading, considerate is a different way to live. He was frustrated, just like all of us. We did our obligatory 20-minute wait for no reason, and it opened up, and this guy was just like, oh, finally, some daylight, bam! And we literally saw sort of our life flash before us. We were also driving my father-in-law's truck, and I can't afford to repay that. And so that was in my brain too. Don't hit his truck. Hit my matrix. It's worthless. We're not a considerate people. Imagine driving in Boston if we were considerate. And no, after you, absolutely. No, we're all in a rush. Sure, you too. Let's go. Let's move together. It'd be awesome, right? It'd be so mature, though. It'd be so otherworldly. It's wisdom that comes from another place. Why you gather here on a Sunday morning. Tell your friends, the only reason I go is because I'm looking for something outside of this world. All 6 days, I've had enough. The world's given me all their wisdom. I see what they know and they do and how they roll. But God's giving us something different. Pure, considerate, patient, submissive. I don't know about you, but those words just sound good to me. But I look at my youth, I see the flashbacks that happen, and I go, I still got a long way to go. But I'm happy to be on that journey with you. Worship team's going to lead us. You don't have to pay attention to the actual words they say. Maybe you just want to pray. Maybe you just want to open up your heart to say, okay, Lord, you have wisdom that I don't have. I'm all ears. Be careful. Because when he gives gifts, he does it like this. Hey, I got this gift. But he gives it and he holds on and says, but I got things for you. I want to show you. Why don't you come with me? And we'll use that gift. But often we are what's the Old Testament call us? A stiff-necked people. And we don't want to be led. So I don't know what God's going to do. If he starts to give you something, he's also probably going to lead you forward. Let's be led together. Let's see what he's got, right? Why don't we stand? As always, this is not a part of your week that has a lot of rules. Students, you've been told when to stand, when to sit. I tell you to stand, fine. If you don't want to, don't. You're also free to move about the sanctuary. You want to go grab somebody and pray with them, go do it. You want to go forward and maybe just kneel and offer yourself once again to say, take my heart, seal it. I'll take the wisdom from heaven. If there's some things in your life you need to change and you just say, I just got to go pray about that, go do it. Father, we're yours. Thank you for the word of God that just every day leads us forward in wisdom. We worship you. Lead us, team.